Welcome to Real Talk, the show where we look at issues facing our youth. My name is Omen Kongo. I'm your host, and today we have a very special guest. She's a poet, an activist, and a transformational leader, and the founder of a new movement, an international movement, which is entitled The Body Is Not an Apology. But we're going to get to that a little bit later, but I want the Real Talk audience to please welcome Miss Sonya Renee Taylor.
Hello.
Sonya Renee, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I am great. I mean, so people who do know you, they know about you as a national slam champion. They know about your performances in Australia, New Zealand, UK. But for our audience, just tell us a little bit about just who you are and why you got into the work that you do.
So I am a performance poet. I've been making my living as a full-time artist since this January of 2005.
Wow! Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's quite the feat.
Yes.
And it's been an amazing journey, and certainly not. It was all very unexpected. Sort of my background is in nonprofit management and working with nonprofit agencies in director and program manager capacities, and the slam bug just sort of bit me in 2003. I just stumbled upon literally open mics and fell in love. Like, wow, this is amazing. People like pay money and then go to some place and someone would just listen to these things I've been writing in a journal. Yeah, and it just sort of took off from there, and it's been quite a wild ride.
Now, when you were doing your nonprofit work, were you always writing, or did you start writing as a result of the work? Because I know you do a lot of work. You were doing, a lot, at that time particularly, a lot of work with women in very intense situations.
Yeah, I was doing a lot of work specifically with women engaged in the sex work industry at the time. But I had always been writing. You know, like I've probably been writing poems since third grade. But I certainly wasn't sharing them. And I guess in my family, I was sort of the occasional poet. There's a funeral or a retirement party.
Call Sonya
to write the poem. And so I was doing that, but I had never shared with the larger public. I did not know that there were places where you could go and read your poems. I had literally never heard of an open mic until 2003.
Wow. And what inspired you to finally take that stage and just do it?
A boss at the time, when I was working with this organization in D.C., was having a benefit for. There was a local nonprofit raising money for our organization, and they were a spoken word nonprofit. And so my boss said, "This organization is doing something for us. Would any of the staff like to write?" And so I was like, "Sure, I'll write something." I wrote 2 pieces, just sort of playfully, and literally, when I went to read them, I instantly fell in love. Like, whatever that thing is that they describe where, like, the sky opens up and the trumpets play or whatever. That's what happened in that moment. And I just fell in love. And then I went back to my office that night and I Googled open mics.
Really?
Because that's what someone told me was called an open mic. And I was like, I'm going to go to all the open mics. And I literally went to all the open mics for, like, the next year and a half.
Wow. Now, since you've made your transition, did you make your transition to full-time art because you felt like this is just my love, I'm going to do it whether people pay me or not, or you just felt like you could reach more people through this than, you know, with a 9-to-5, or what made you decide to do that?
I think it was sort of opportunity meets passion. I had gotten involved in the National Poetry Slam, which is competitive performance poetry. Again, I did not realize that there were people around the country, let alone around the world, who were competing in these national poetry slams. I made the Washington, D.C. Baltimore team, which was a unified team at the time, went to the competition, and they have a team competition and an individual competition. I was on a team, but my teammates had decided that I should also compete in the individual competition, and I won it.
Nice,
So my first event, I won it. And when I got back, I really didn't know what I had won. And so I was like, okay, well, let me look, online and see what everybody else who has won this thing is doing. And they were all full-time professional writers and performers who were really successful in the world as artists. And I just felt like it would be, like, who am I to not do? Who am I to squander this awesome thing that, I didn't even know was going to happen? And so with that, I decided, okay, I'm gonna go and try my hand at this.
And what I love about what you do is that you're still in the same line of work.
Absolutely.
You're using, poetry as a venue, and And with that, you've created this, and when I said international, I really meant it's international movement called The Body Is Not an Apology.
Yeah.
And when we spoke about that earlier, you said you also wrote a poem that kind of talks about what it is. So could you just enlighten us, starting with the poem, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what it is?
Sure. Well, the poem came first, and it just sort of sums up the concept of this movement, and the poem is called The Body Is Not an Apology. The body is not an apology. Let it not be forget-me-not fixed to mattress when night threatens to leave the room empty as the belly of a crow. The body is not an apology. Do not present it as a disassembled rifle when he is yet to prove himself more than common intruder. The body is not an apology. Let it not be common as oil, ash, or toilet. Let it not be small as gravel, stain, or teeth. Let it not be mountain when it is sand. Let it not be ocean when it is grass. Let it not be shaken, flattened, or raised in contrition. The body is not an apology. Do not give the body as communion, confession. Do not ask for it to be pardoned as criminal. The body is not a crime, is not a gun, is not a lost set of keys or wrong number dialed. It is not the orange burst of blood to shame white dresses. The body is not an apology. It is not the unintended granule of bone beneath will. The body is not kill, is not unkempt car, is not a forgotten appointment. Do not speak it vulgar. The body is not spill, is not a spill to be contained. The body is not an apology. It is not a father's backhand. It is not mother's dinner late again wrecked jaw howl. It is not the drunken sorcery of contorting steel round tree. The body is not calamity. The body is not a math test. The body is not a failed class. The body is not a wrong answer. You are not failing. The body is not an apology. It is not a broken thing to be mended, to be tossed. It is not a cavity. It is not a hole to be filled, to be yanked out. It is not a broken thing to be mended, be tossed. The body is not sentence to be served. It is not pavement, is not prayer. The body is not to be prayed for, is to be prayed to. So, for the evermore tortile 10th grade knows. Hallelujah. For the shower song throat that crackles like a grandfather's Victrola. Hallelujah. For the spine that never healed. For the lambent heart that didn't either. Hallelujah. For the sloping pulp of back, hip, belly. Hosanna. For the errant hairs that rove the face like a pack of Asheronian wolves. Hosanna for the parts we have endeavored to excise. Blessed be the cancer, the palsy, the womb that opens like a trap door. Praise the body in its blackjack magic, even in this. For the razor wire mouth, for the sweet God ribbon within it, praise. For the mistake that never was, praise. For the bend, twist, fall, and rise again, fall and rise again. For the raising like an obstinate Christ. For the salvation of a body that bends like a baptismal bowl. For those who will worship at the lip of this sanctuary. Praise the body, for the body is not an apology. The body is deity. The body is God. The body is God. The only righteous love that will never need repent.
Whoa. Wow. Now, I've heard much of your work over the years, and I've never seen this piece, live for one, so thank you for that.
My pleasure.
Just the concept alone, the body is, you could have said a lot of things. I love myself, I respect myself,
right.
But the body is not an apology. Where did that come from?
Well, there's an actual story of a friend of mine who is a woman who has congenital birth defect. And so she was having a conversation with me once about fearing that she was pregnant. She was unpartnered, and a lot of my historical work is in HIV education and that sort of thing. So when people have conversations with me, I do a little digging.
Okay.
And so in this conversation, I asked her, what had made her decide to make the decision to have unprotected sex with this individual. And her response to me was that she felt like because her disability made being sexual with someone challenging, that she didn't feel entitled to ask this person to use a condom.
Wow. And
my response to her in the conversation, just spontaneously, was, your body is not an apology. It is not something that you offer to say, I'm sorry that I'm disabled. And so I had that conversation with her, and then the line just stayed with me. It stayed with me. And then I started writing the poem. And then it just kept showing up in things like the idea of us sort of constantly being sorry for the vessels that we exist in kept showing up in all of these different places. And then it showed up for me in the form of a cell phone picture that I had taken of myself. And I felt good in the cell phone picture, and I felt a little saucy and sexy in it. But I was ashamed to post it. And I was ashamed to post it because I had like all of this belief about what people would think of me and think of my body if I posted it. And I was like, I am, I'm being apologetic about this vessel that I exist in. And what would it look like if I chose not to be? And so I posted the picture online. And the next morning there were like 100 or so comments on the picture. And people saying, I wish I was brave enough to do that. And I was like, why aren't you? And then I encouraged people to start posting pictures where they felt sexy or beautiful or empowered. And then people around Facebook started posting all of these pictures where they felt good about themselves. And eventually we had like 100 or 200 people posting pictures. And I said, well, what if I just started a little Facebook page called The Body Is Not an Apology? And so that's what I did. And, on it I would post affirmations, things to remind you that you're beautiful that day, things to remind you to feel good about yourself, things to help you remind other people to feel good about themselves. And we just started growing like wildfire. Like the world was waiting for a space where it was okay to love yourself.
And all from posting
all from a moment of being unapologetic.
Wow. And what has the response been when you've shared that piece in places?
Almost always I get people who come up to me afterwards and say thank you. And they say, and it's interesting the moments in the piece that people pull out. So I'll have people that come up to me and say, I had a miscarriage, and I'm learning to re-love my body, or I have a lot of people in the disability community who come up and talk to me about it. I have a lot of trans folks, transgendered people who come up and talk to me about the idea of being unapologetic about their bodies. So I love how inclusive it is. It's not just one thing. It's not just about body size. It's not just about skin, or it's about all of the ways in which we don't value our bodies and what it would be like if we decided we would.
And it's a message not just for females, for
not at all, for males and females, for everyone, for young people, for old people, for anybody with a body. Anybody with a body.
And so right now, as the movement grows, do you feel like this is something that is just grown out of control, or Well, I would love for it to. I would love for it to be bigger than I know how to manage. I would love for that to be the case. Right now, we're growing the Facebook page, which is still in existence, seems to be growing at about 100 people a day. Nice.
And so new folks find it, and then they send it off to folks, and then some other projects have birthed out of The Body Is Not an Apology, and I'm really excited about some of those.
Okay, because we're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear some more poetry, but also hear about some of these projects that have grown out of the movement as well.
Awesome.
Sound like a good idea?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, excellent. We'll be right back with more Real Talk.
Mom!
What?
You can't find Ichabod.
What?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you.
Welcome back to Real Talk, the show where we look at issues facing our youth. Once again, my name is Ome Congo, and I'm here with the transformational leader, the poet, the activist, Miss Sonya Renee Taylor. Hope you're enjoying yourself so far.
I'm having a great time. Thanks for bringing me.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the main reasons I wanted you on the show is because it is Real Talk, and we get into real conversations dealing with young people. In the work that you do, you encounter a lot of young people. And what would you say to the young person out there who says, okay, great, it's great to talk about, the body not, being an apology, but I'm turning on the TV every day. I'm being told to look like Beyonce, Taylor Swift, or the guys, LeBron James, and they're not really feeling that they value themselves. They may be just developing, not sure where they are with their own self-esteem. What would you say to them that could help them navigate through this journey of their life?
Well, I think that there are a couple of things. One is, like, you've got to start with the belief that, like, Beyonce isn't better than you. Yes, she's on TV. Awesome. That means that she had an opportunity that you may not have been presented with yet. That does not mean that she is better than you, nor more important or more valuable or more worthy in the world. And I think that that's really important to remember. I think it's important to remember to be around people who remind you that you're the business too. Like, if you've got friends and your friends are not telling you that you're an awesome person, then get some new friends.
Right. Okay.
You know,
Yeah,
and I mean, I was lucky when I was a teenager and when I was a young person. We had a crew, and me and my crew, you couldn't tell us we weren't the best thing that came up off the turnip truck.
Absolutely,
We were the bee's knees. And so part of my support system was being surrounded by other people who told me that I was good in the world, and then I got to tell them that they were good in the world. And so I think it's really important that young people have friends that remind them that they're cool already.
Yeah. And some of the projects that The Body's Not an Apology are some of the projects that you all are involved in. Do they deal with those types of issues?
Absolutely.
Or what else do they deal with?
So much about the self-esteem, what we call radical self-love.
Radical
self-love. Right? Like that. It's not because it's a radical notion, particularly when you turn on the television and there's a Beyonce and a Taylor Swift and a Kanye West and all of these, telling you that if you don't have a Maybach and you don't have 15 chains and you can't go to Jacob and the Jewelers, then you're not good.
That's right.
It is a radical action to decide that you are worthy and beautiful. That's radical in the world. And so we call it radical self-love. But it's a muscle. It's something you have to exercise. And so The Body Is Not an Apology has lots of different barbells, or treadmills that you can use to exercise the muscle of believing in yourself. One of them is a really easy way, and we call it Bad Picture Monday. Today is Bad Picture Monday.
Bad Picture Monday.
And on Bad Picture Monday, all we do is encourage people to find a picture that they hate of themselves and post it as your profile pic on your social networking site.
Wow.
So Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or wherever. And the point is that even in your bad picture, you are still beautiful. That whatever moment that is that captured, you are still worthy and divine in that moment. And so it's just it's a way to get uninvested in being hyper image conscious.
Uninvested.
Oh, somebody's going to see that picture and they're going to notice the zit. Well, okay. And if they notice the zit so Bad Picture Monday is a fun, easy way. Every Monday morning I post a bad picture for the day. I encourage folks all over Twitter and Facebook to do the same. And then at the end of the day, you take it down and you breathe again and you go back to being your regularly scheduled flossy picture self.
Right.
Really easy way to do it. The biggest project right now that is underneath The Body Is Not an Apology is called the Ruckus Project.
The Ruckus Project.
Ruckus Project.
Okay.
And it's spelled RUHCUS, and it stands for Radically Unapologetic Healing Challenge for Us.
Nice.
And the Ruckus Project is a 3-step, 30-day project to start us on the journey of healing ourselves from pain, shame, trauma, and fear in our lives. And so it is a scary but containable way to look at some of the ways in which you are being held back or in bondage to various things that have happened in your life or various fears or your body and figuring out ways to get free.
And bondage is a strong term. Do you feel like it's that strong? Like we're in bondage to these concepts?
Absolutely.
And low self-esteem?
So for me, the Ruckus Project came about because after I started The Body Is Not an Apology, I had been feeling not so good in my body one of these particular days. And I had this moment where I was like, I am a hypocrite. I woke up every single morning and posted on The Body Is Not an Apology, telling people to love themselves and accept themselves. And every morning for the last 11 years, I had been wearing a wig. like to the point where no one had ever seen my hair. Like very few people had ever even seen my actual hair.
Wow.
I wouldn't walk my dog without my wig. I wouldn't go to a grocery store without my wig. And I was like, I was in bondage to wigs. I was absolutely enslaved to my fear about what the world would think of me if they saw my hair. And so I decided that I wanted to be free of that bondage. And so my goal was, I was like, okay, I am going to shave my hair off.
Wow.
And then I was like, I can only do it for 30 days because you know, like that's about all I can manage. I can do a month. I can do anything for a month.
Right.
I'm going to shave my hair for 30 days. I'm going to have a ceremony that sort of christens this journey, where I invite people who I love and who love me to come over and be a part of the process. They came to my house. They cut my hair for me.
Wow.
They spoke affirmations over what they hoped they were taking away from when they cut it and what they hoped would grow in its place.
Wow.
And then for 30 days in the world, I was bald. And every day I did a video blog detailing what it was like. So I went to walk my dog for the first time. I went to the swimming pool for the first time. I went on a date bald for the first time. And for 30 days, I just sort of chronicled that. And I did that. The Ruckus started on July 5th. It was over on August 4th. And I have not put a wig back on my head since.
Wow. Now this is just amazing work, and I think that when people are seeing this, they're going to want to reach out to you. Well, what's the best way to reach your website? Is there anything out there?
You can absolutely go to our website, www.thebodyisnotanapology.com. You can send us an email there at info@thebodyisnotanapology.com. We also have a link there. You can put a little note. People can find me individually as an artist at Sonya, Sonya Renee RENEE.com.
Okay.
You can also find The Body Is Not an Apology on Facebook. If you just put that in, the group will come up. On Twitter, we are Radical Body Love.
Radical Body Love.
Radical
I'll
Body
be
Love
following
on
that,
Twitter.
Definitely.
Yeah, those are pretty much the best ways to get me. And if somebody wanted to email me directly, they could do that at SonyaRenee@gmail.
Okay, so you're directly accessible.
Yes,
Even
yeah,
despite
absolutely.
The
hundreds of other ways to get to
movement.
me. I still say you can certainly email me if you need to.
Oh, that's wonderful. There's so much more I can ask, and I mean, I know the audience has been wowed, but I think the audience also would love to be wowed by some more of your poetry.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Not at all. This is sort of what I like to leave people with, that all of these, projects that I've started and just everything has all started with the concept that if you can believe something and you can speak it into existence, you can actually create it. And so much of it is about believing it and then putting your words behind your beliefs and then putting your actions behind your words. And so
putting your words behind
your beliefs and then putting your actions behind your words.
Okay,
and so this poem is called Speak It. I can't say that I don't see your tears, feel your pain. I can't promise that it will never rain, because the truth is, I don't know. But I do know that rain makes things grow, so maybe this is growing season. And I don't have any reason why the sun don't seem to shine on your side of the block. All I know is that a rock can't speak its piece. And sometimes you have to open your mouth and release the authority that is in you. But you never will if you refuse to see that this is about the energy we exude on this earth. So you can keep having contractions and never giving birth, and you'll only get the ache. You can keep holding love between clenched teeth and you'll only get heartbreak. You can keep saying you're the victim because it's easier to sell. You can keep claiming you're last and you will always be the tail. You can keep catching hell. But if you choose to hold it, baby, who's the fool? And if someone is digging your grave, why would you allow yourself to be the tool? Because at some point, it is all about choice. See, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was not darkness, it was light. It was not grounded, it was flight. It was not run, it was fight. And all it took was the art of seeing, the action of saying it into being. See, it's about not happening to life, but letting life happen to you. It's about screaming to this planet, there is nothing I can't do, so I claim it. This outlandish thing called impossible, I choose to rename it a fallacy because it's a lie. So yes, love, sit down and cry. Let it dampen your feet like showers to the soil. Rage if you must until you come to a boil, then cook something. When fear is staring down at you, you stare back at it and slap it out your way. And promise yourself, today is the last of the can'ts and the won'ts. Today is the last of the don't nobody care about me, because you care about you. And what could be greater than that? Your power is mightier than this entire universe, but only if you choose to seek it. So do you want it? Whatever it is, do you really want it? Because if you do, first believe it, then speak it.
Wow. First believe it, then speak it. There were several lines that I caught in there, and one of them said something to the effect of, digging graves and don't be the tool.
Yeah, if somebody's digging your grave, why would you allow yourself to be the tool?
That's, I mean, all of that is powerful. And people are going to probably be emailing, wondering, are there any products? Are there books, CDs out there where people how can people hear or read some of your work? Are there books? Are there CDs?
I do have a book. My first collection of poetry came out last summer, and it's called A Little Truth on Your Shirt.
A Little Truth
on Your Shirt. And you can get it on Amazon. You can also get it at the publisher's website, which is girlchildpress.com, girlchildpress.com. And then everything else you can find, every video you would love to on YouTube. There's all sorts of, there's a Sonya Renee channel.
Beautiful.
It's actually Sony Kisses is the YouTube channel. Yeah, all types of ways.
Now, you also mentioned something. It had me thinking of, in your poem, it had me thinking of a quote that Dr. King said, that most people die at age 21, they'll get buried till they're 65 or so. Is that how you feel? Like you just, when you're out there, you just see a lot of people out there who just aren't living, and you just want them to just wake up, seize the day?
I think that there's so much fear. There's another quote. I know Marian Idleman Wright said it, but they attributed to Mandela that our greatest fear is not that we're failures, but that we're successful beyond our wildest dreams.
Yes.
And I really do believe that we are afraid of our power, that it frightens us. And I think that is a specific truth with young people. I think it has a specific truth with people of color in the world, that we've been told that we are not enough for such a long time, that the idea of being enough is terrifying.
Wow.
And what I want is for all of the planet to step into their brilliance.
And have radical
self-love.
Radical self-love.
Radical self-love.
And that's and this is under the Ruckus Project.
Yeah.
I just love the term. I had to say it again.
Raise a ruckus.
Raise a ruckus.
Raise a ruckus.
Absolutely. Well, Sonya Renee, I really thank you for the poetry, for the movement. You are truly a transformational leader in every sense of the word, and I'm just happy that the world is seeing the greatness that you possess, and that you're living to see yourself touch so many people, because a lot of people don't have an opportunity to see the people that actually touch because they go before their time.
I'm blessed, and highly favored.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Omi Congo.
That's going to do it for another episode of Real Talk. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email me at realtalk@omecongo.com. And remember, our youth are 50% of our population, but 100% of our future. Let's make sure we're taking care of them. See you next time.